On this day, I think it's worth remembering this perfect summary of British politics Twitter. Every time I hear about UK's current events, it's incomprehensibly bonkers. It's always like Secretary of Finance Lord Billy Frumpton is under fire for allegedly eating toffee. And every British person commenting on it is like 4 layers of irony deep and posting like no tomorrow. They're posting like, salute to the Sir Toffee Frumpton, an utter disgrace, and the love of my life. So that is how it works. But also, I have to admit, I am a little disappointed with the Brits. Why am I a little disappointed with the Brits? Donald Trump literally tried to do a failed insurrection. And the Republican Party immediately got behind him and was like, no, he's fine. That insurrection was super sick. Actually, we love it. Like, oh yeah, at the time we said it was wrong, but we were wrong for saying it was wrong. He's really great. We love him. 2-time impeachment champion Donald Trump. And nothing happened. But in the Bruvland, you have no backbone. Your Tories are cowards. Your Tories are pathetic, dude. They immediately were like, Boris Johnson violated COVID protocols? What? That's a no confidence vote. Like, are you kidding me? This man is literally going to get clapped because he had a party where he didn't even take his dick out. He didn't even whip it out. He just had a party during COVID. And then they had a no confidence vote for him. And like half the Tories were like, yes, I do declare this is completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And the fact that, what a shame. How dastardly. Ha, I'm appalled. And it's like, what the And then what? He hired a dude who's a sexual assaulter? Excuse me? Are you unaware of the Conservative Party? What do you mean? Were they mad that the dude sexually assaulted an adult? Is that why they were like, oh no, I can't believe you shan't allow a man who has sexually assaulted an adult. We are Tories, damn you. We only sexually assault children. We are nonces. We are the nonce party. Unacceptable. Okay, that's like, is that why? Is that why they were like mad? Like Donald Trump is out there literally being like, I'm going to sexually assault women. And the conservatives are like, yes, that dude, that's so sick. Thank you. Okay. Meanwhile, like what? Boris is literally getting cucked by his fake friend party for hiring like a dude who had a credible sexual assault accusation. That is awesome. That's actually hilarious. Wild to me. Okay, Boris Johnson got more fake friends than FaZe Banks, straight up. So let's take a look. Let's get into it. Let's watch what Boris Johnson had to say. I mean, his resignation is pretty funny, and his speech was pretty funny overall.
Well, here he is, Nick. Let's see what the Prime Minister has to say.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you. It is clearly now the will of the Parliamentary Conservative Party that there should be a new leader of that party and therefore a new Prime Minister. And I've agreed with Sir Graham Brady, the chairman of our backbench MPs, that the process of choosing that new leader should begin now. And the timetable will be announced next week. And I've today appointed a cabinet to serve, as I will, until a new leader is in place. So I want to say to the millions of people who voted for us in 2019, many of them voting Conservative for the first time. Thank you for that incredible mandate, the biggest Conservative majority since 1987, the biggest share of the vote since 1979. And the reason I have fought so hard in the last few days to continue to deliver that mandate in person was not just because I wanted to do so, but because I felt it was my job, my duty, my obligation to you to continue to do what we promised in 2019. And of course, I'm immensely proud of the achievements of this government, from getting Brexit done to settling our relations with the continent for over half a century, reclaiming the power for this country to make its own laws in Parliament, getting us all through the pandemic, delivering the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, the fastest exit from lockdown, and in the last few months leading the West in standing up to Putin's aggression in Ukraine?
Dude, this is the funniest thing. The whole, like, Putin's aggression in Ukraine. Like, I love that that is, like, that is the line. That is the line of, like, a dying party, of a dying politician. Every time. And that, you want to know how I know that? Because Democrats love using that line, okay? Like, no one, and I mean no one gives a about that inside of the borders of the United Kingdom, okay? Like, if he just said, like, oh, well, I did the Brexit thing and that was brilliant, then yeah, people are going to be like, yeah, you did. You did do that, bruv. Boris, Brexit means Brexit. Remember, you did a great thing there, Boris. We'll never forgive, never forget. But, like, but when he was, like, talking about Ukraine and stuff, everyone's like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, it's just his only credibility as of late is him helping Ukraine, as if that's the only person. Exactly. That's what you grab onto if you are so media obsessed, okay? And you think like other people give a shit about that, like the average voter gives a shit about that. You're wrong. We're crazy about Ukraine. No, you're not. No, you're not. If you were crazy about Ukraine right now, in this very moment, you would be losing your mind about, like, the hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers dying, like, literally every day. And you rarely, classic Hasan telling us Brits that what we actually think, Lamau. Come on, dude. Come on. I know the media makes it seem like people are, like, truly obsessed with Ukraine or whatever, but no. What is this? Are you this lawyer's stepdad? What the fuck? Bro, conservatives over here have been saying we've done Putin a favor by getting rid of him. Not being funny, mate. You don't live here. I do. I wouldn't tell you how WeHo is. Okay, dude. As though England and America are not nearly identical in the way that they approach politics, and their neoliberal and like the neoliberal posturing that you see in the media is not necessarily reflected in the minds of the average British citizen. Okay? Everything that you said about the UK's approach to Ukraine can easily transfer to America's approach to Ukraine as well. But ultimately, neither country's citizens truly care. Neither country's politicians truly care. They just want to sell weapons. Okay? It's just virtue signaling. Exactly. Bruv, they're virtue signaling. We care about Ukraine, sure, but not as much as they make out. Exactly. And for as many, yo, didn't you say Russia won't invade Ukraine? Dude, this guy's we got a mobile chatter, dude. Yeah, that was an invasion ago. On their deathbed, like, dudes are gonna have like brain cancer, dying at the age of 87, and be like, remember that guy? He once said Russia won't be crazy enough to invade Ukraine because it would be disastrous. And I'm simply nitpicking the one part of that statement and not the other part that was completely accurate. Yeah.
And let me say now.
What? What's the completely accurate part? Go back and read the take, and you'll understand what the completely accurate part was. I said it would be disastrous for Russia to invade a country with 46 million people that despise them and engage in a long, drawn-out occupation, which I was right. And I'm still right on that.
To the people of Ukraine, that I know that we in the UK will continue to back your fight for freedom, for as long as it takes. And at the same time, in this country, we've been pushing forward a vast program of investment in infrastructure and skills and technology, the biggest in a century, because if I have one insight into human beings, it is that genius and talent and enthusiasm and imagination are evenly distributed throughout the population, but opportunity is not. And that's why we must keep...
It turns out you were wrong on that also. Like what? As in it hasn't been disastrous for Russia? No. It has been. It has been disastrous for Russia. What the fuck are you talking about? Dude, my favorite type of dude, he said Russia wouldn't invade because it would be disastrous for Russia. Russia invaded and it was disastrous for Russia. And I'm like, well, you said Russia wouldn't invade. I can't, dude. Every single person that is using this as an opportunity to talk is specifically doing it to derail the content. They do not actually care about it. They're just baiting. And that's what happens when you're a brain broken debate pervert. Your only existence and your only lens or your only tool of analysis of political events is from the is straight up from the debate pervertry. This guy thinks he knows everything. I don't. Anyway, let's continue with Boris.
Leveling up. Keep unleashing the potential of every part of the United Kingdom. And if we can do that in this country, we will be the most prosperous in Europe. And in the last few days, I've tried to persuade my colleagues that it would be eccentric to change governments when we're delivering so much, and when we have such a vast mandate, and when we're actually only a handful of points behind.
The only decent thing Boris Johnson did was vaccine delivery. That's pretty much it. Other than that, it has been disastrous. Did the NHS get funded like he promised after 9 years of austerity? Did that happen? Did he deliver on anything? This is exactly the same as the Democratic Party, dude. It's so funny that your Tories are ironically identical to our Democrats, where they literally say like, oh yeah, how dare you say we haven't done anything? Look at Ukraine. It's like, bro, it's literally a carved out, eviscerated, hole now. Thank you. Eastern Ukraine has turned into more Russian territory for Russia, and like so many people have died. They're dying to artillery fire. You really killed it. You really destroyed it, man. You did. Good job. Thank you for the help in Ukraine.
In the polls, even in midterm, after quite a few months of pretty relentless sledging, and when the economic scene is so difficult domestically and internationally. And I regret not to have been successful in those arguments, and of course it's painful not to be able to see through so many ideas and projects myself. But as we've seen at Westminster, the herd instinct is powerful when the herd moves.
One of his biggest manifesto pledges, the 40 hospitals, hasn't been fulfilled at all. 6 will be built a year after, and he said 40 would be useless.
It moves. And my friends, in politics, no one is remotely indispensable. And our brilliant and Darwinian system will produce another leader equally committed to taking this country forward through tough times, not just helping families to get through it, but changing and improving the way we do things, cutting burdens on businesses and families, and yes, cutting taxes, because that is the way to generate the growth and the income we need to pay for.
Bro, what is Zelensky doing, dog? Zelensky, if I was in his shoes, I would not be trying to defend Boris Johnson's resignation to the rest of the world. You know what I mean? Johnson said that to Zelensky. This was misreported. We'll do top 5 Bojo moments. Don't worry about it. The king, dude. Absolute goated. Just today, the UK lost about £100 million in science grants from the EU because of Brexit. Nice. Just look at how strong and popular NATO is because of the invasion. Putin best PR for NATO for real. Oh, 100%. A big congratulations to Vladimir Putin for that one. That was pretty fire. Do you ever read articles or just the headlines? Holy f***. Do you come in here to just write dumb shit like that when you don't personally know what the f*** I do? So you can clip that and like put it on a subreddit and complain even though I do read the articles? Don't forget that the time Boris ran over a child while playing rugby. That was awesome. We'll get back to this in a second, though. Let's continue with the Boris Johnson take.
Public services. And to that new leader, I say, whoever he or she may be, I say I will give you as much support as I can. And to you, the British public, I know that there will be many people who are relieved.
They're literally booing him. Yeah, they are. They will be.
Perhaps quite a few who will also be disappointed. And I want you to know how sad I am to be giving up the best job in the world. But them's the breaks. I want to thank Carrie and our children and all the members of my family who have had to put up with so much for so long. I want to thank the peerless British civil service for all the help and support that you have given our police, our emergency services, and of course, our fantastic NHS, who at critical moment helped to extend my own period in office, as well as our armed services and our agencies that are so admired around the world, and our indefatigable Conservative Party members and supporters, whose selfless campaigning makes our democracy possible. I want to thank the wonderful staff here at Chequers, here at Number 10, and of course at Chequers, and our fantastic prop force detectives, the one group, by the way, who never leak. Above all, I want to thank you, the British public, for the immense privilege that you have given me. And I want you to know that from now on until the new Prime Minister is in place, your interests will be served and the government...
So, like, what, different than the past couple years? Is that what you're saying? Because I love, he's like, now I'm going to be good. I promise. Just like I promised that I would fund the NHS and then didn't continue to do so. Just like austerity continued. Just like, corruption continued within the Tory government. But now this time, things will be different. Now that I have no stakes whatsoever.
Of the country will be carried on. Being Prime Minister...
Literally, the only reason he's fighting to stay on is so he can have his wedding party at Chequers, the Prime Minister's country manor house. Johnson's intend to hold Chequers' wedding party before Prime Minister departs. I love that. It's so petty. It's so stupid. And if you're living in the Western world, you deserve this kind of leadership, straight up. And this includes me. This is like a Trump thing to do. You know what I mean? This is totally a Trumpian move. And I love it personally. I think it's great. So petty, so stupid, incredible.
Is an education in itself. I've traveled to every part of the United Kingdom, and in addition to the beauty of our natural world, I found so many people possessed of such boundless British originality and so willing to tackle old problems in new ways that I know that even if things can sometimes seem dark now, our future together is golden. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Let's take a look at what the crowd looked like. I love that. You, Boris! Fuck you, Boris! You.
The worst PM in history.
Boo!
Are we ready?
That's awesome. Here, there's
sure that
they were playing the Benny Hill theme tune.
A couple of things. Firstly, we need to make sure that we keep the basic functions of government going. That's really important. There are, for example, no ministers in DfE at the moment. That needs to be sorted out.
Look at this tune being played. Look at this tune being played in the background as Boris Johnson resigns. A tune for your head top, yeah.
Secondly, I think we need to try and select a new leader.
Blasting a tune, bruv.
And obviously, we need to make sure we make the correct choice, but we should do it in a reasonably quick time. In terms of Boris staying on, the convention is that the outgoing Prime Minister does carry on. That's what happened when Theresa May left office, is what happened when David Cameron left office. And, you know, given that, as we just a couple of things, firstly, we need to make sure...
I love that. You could have saved him? Bro, I tried so hard.
Good evening. I'm Piers Morgan, Uncensored. Tonight, Boris Johnson...
You rarely ever see a pig holding a pig, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I forgot to mention, Piers Morgan wanted me on a show to talk about gun violence in America. I was going to do it a couple weeks back, but I didn't have time, unfortunately.
Johnson must go. The greased piglet of politics has slipped and squirmed through almost 3 disastrous years of disorder and deceit. 38 resignations in 2 days have butchered his government, and tonight, surely, nothing can now save his bacon.
Dude, wait, let me see if I can do it in person. That could be fire, dude. I'm gonna hit my manager up right now and see if I could do it in person. Be holding a pig in case Cameron comes back. There's a lot coming from Piers, who's also a greasy piglet. Yeah, no, he's terrible. Yes. Next up, we have David Cameron to mouth the pig. By the way, good luck flying into Heathrow or Gatwick. It's a bit of a show recently with luggage handling and staff being overwhelmed with tourists. I've heard, my friend, I've heard. What's it? Bring your son to work day in a studio or something? Yeah. You just called him a pig. He's not letting you on now. No, I think he'll still let me on. All right, let's look at, hold on. Let's look at, wait, where was another one that I wanted to show you? Where the f is it? We played the Benny Hill. All right, let's watch how we got here first.
The biggest character in modern British politics, who in beating his way to...
Please don't do Piers Morgan. He's a piece of shit who just keeps speaking over you. Debate a clip. Yeah, but like, I am the #1 speaker over, you know what I mean?
to number 10,
This whole debate is about democracy.
took the country out of the EU.
You must stay at home.
In office, he was confronted with one of
But
the
not me.
deadliest challenges ever faced.
You
by
must
any
stay at
prime
home.
minister,
Not me,
COVID-19.
though. I'm different.
But was
I
the
will throw a
downfall
party
of
for
this
Christmas.
great showman that he simply couldn't
I will throw a party for Christmas while you are separated from your dying relatives. I'm Boris Johnson. That's the reason. For the record, for people who don't understand, the reason why people were very frustrated with this, because, like, I'm sure a lot of people in America are like, what? Like, the British held their politician accountable for what? Violating COVID protocols. Gavin Newsom, Nancy Pelosi, Democrats, all around have violated COVID protocols that they themselves were, pushing for. But not only that, like, Republicans don't even believe in COVID, let alone want to advocate for COVID protocols. They advocated for COVID instead of the protocols. Right? Oh, dude, that's great. KFC UK popping off. Hey, conservatives, we found an even bigger chicken than you. Hey, conservatives fixed it for you. Nice. Boris politics aside was a perfect example of a good personality during good times, but fell short during hard times. But I'm American and going off Twitter clips. You could have stopped it, held them accountable, and we still could have been would have been confused. I just like, all I'm stating is, for Americans who are watching right now, like, how the f did this happen? They have a mechanism of shame in the UK, and I personally thought Boris is so shameless that that mechanism was not going to work, right? Turns out I was wrong. It did work, as it has in the past. Even though, who knows? What if Boris tries to hang on? Who knows? And be like, well, no substitute came through, and therefore I must still continue being the prime minister as I care about the future of this country. So only partially wrong. He's prime minister till fall. So, pro tip, FedEx your luggage overnight to your London hotel and walk through the airport empty-handed. Really? We'll see. Anyway, listen. My point is, yeah, Limmy and Bojo holding on for dear life. My point is, for Americans, this seems like a distant thing. Like, this is like an incredibly distant concept. Holding a politician accountable, having a mechanism, a regulatory mechanism, or having a like any sort of accountability mechanism is weird, especially one that hinges on shame. That's also weird. So all of this happening is like unique, but when you find out the details of it, you're like, what the f-? And that's why I said what I said earlier today, where I was like, listen, it's like wild that these British Tories have no backbone. The fact that they are, pushing Boris out and voting voting for no confidence votes or whatever is such a foreign concept for us Americans, because we did, Trump did January 6th and has done sexual assaults allegedly, and the entire Republican Party was like, it was very good and we should do more of that, sir. And it's the truth. So it's wild, but I think it's partially because like the economy's not doing all too great, and they wanted like a fall guy maybe. I don't know. I truly don't understand how this happened.
Didn't survive being seen for who he really was.
A liar, a showman, a buffoon, a rank incompetent, and probably the most shameful.
Bro, this guy is dude, this is a politician, bro. Did you f those girls? No. Do you know why I did not f those girls? Chat knows why. Because I was too busy f***ing your mom. And I wouldn't dare cheat on her. And now you're banned. And your mom is by me.
Shameful prime minister that Britain has ever had, and somebody the like of whom I pray we will never see again.
Now, I've always liked Boris Johnson. He's got a real earnest concern for the British people, and they feel it. And it's because they feel it that they love him so much. Well, what a tragedy that we've come to this. But we've come to this.
Yeah, Rory Stewart is my favorite. Rory Stewart is one of my favorite. Rory Stewart accused of racism for calling 3 black men minor gangsters. Remember Rory Stewart's like photo as well?
Guys.
Do you remember the photos that we took?
Hi. Are you happy to have a quick film? Good to see you. I'm Rory.
Lilo.
Nice to see you. Good to see you. I'm Rory.
Screw, bro.
Good to see you. Very nice to meet you.
I'm Seb.
Here, these, dude. This is the greatest, dude. Look. Thank you for coming, and so many others. Meet me at Hartlepool. Okay. Smiling. No. Okay. Smiling. Why did he post this? I mean, come on, bro. You really didn't have to post this. But he did anyway. I mean, it's hilarious. It's hilarious that this is the sequence. Like, this is unintentionally incredible. Look at his expression. One of the things is not like others, dude, posting L's on Maine. You can't smile next to black people because they got better teeth than the bruv. I mean, everyone's got better teeth than the bruv. What are you talking about? Bro, the comments had to point this out, right? Yeah, no, everyone was making fun of him for this. It was awesome.
Hi, Rory. Good to see you. Do you all live around here? Or?
We do indeed, yeah, sort of.
Have you always lived around here?
We're from Ireland, actually.
You're originally from Ireland?
Dublin, Ireland, yeah.
Dublin?
Crazy. Yep.
And when did you move here? A few years ago. Hi there, I'm Rory. Good to see you. Good to see you.
You got
Thank
a black
you for saying
ice cream
hello.
cone,
Thank you,
man.
thank you.
Nice. That's so cool.
So you're all from Ireland? You all grew up in Dublin? Great. Fantastic. And how long have you been here for?
What is this for?
I'm filming something. I'm a politician. I'm standing to be Prime Minister, so I'm going around meeting people.
Okay. Ah, sweet.
So I want to see what people are up to.
I don't fuck with politics, man.
You don't like
I
politics?
Go get some
Politics.
Nando's. Nice to meet you, sir.
Very nice to meet you. Take care. Bye-bye. Nice to see you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. See you. Thank you.
World peace, bro.
Thank you.
Where's the minor gangsters thing? I would refer back to a clip at an event in London's Emmanuel Center. One thing about social media is it allows people to see politicians listening. I can go to Brick Lane and see three sort of minor gangsters can come up to me and spend a minute telling me I'm an idiot. Whoa, my God. And I can film it on my phone and put it up, and people love watching people being rude to politicians. That's awesome. Sort of minor gangsters, you know. But that's the average Tory. And that's the ghoul that's saying Boris Johnson is the worst conservative. And you want to know something funny? They're all just as bad, and he's not even wrong. Okay? This is how it is. If you're a Tory, I mean, that's why I made that joke earlier. Like, oh man, they hired a sexual assaulter. The worst thing he did was sexually assault a full-grown adult instead of a child, like the rest of the Tories and the Lords. Oh my God, I'm literally going to get banned from the UK before I enter the country if I keep this up.
So much. Well, what a tragedy that we've come to this. But we've come to this by his own hand, I'm sorry to say.
In a way, this will be, as always, a personal tragedy. You know, many of the factors that brought Boris Johnson to be Prime Minister are also responsible for his fall.
Johnson set out in life to be a winner. As a child, his stated ambition was world king.
Bro, look at that hair, dog. Look at all that hair.
And his method, self-belief, even if not everything he said was true. As a journalist, he was sacked from the Times for misrepresentation, and in politics was sacked again from his first frontbench role for lying about an affair. But with celebrity appeal and a radar for popular policy, he became London's first Conservative mayor, dubbed the Heineken politician, reaching parts other Tories couldn't.
Thank you for sticking up for London and for the innocent, hard-working people of this city.
So why not reach number 10?
Get me a ladder.
Whether he believed in Brexit or not, joining Vote Leave provided a platform and a policy that appealed to many grassroots Tories. And while Theresa May had first stab at delivering Brexit,
Boris Johnson.
Hey, remember when they were going to take the 350 million quid away from the EU and put it back into the NHS? Remember that? That never happened. Shocking. Shocking. Dastardly. I do declare.
Is elected as the leader of the Conservative and Unionist Party.
he convinced the Tories and then the electorate that his so-called oven-ready deal was better.
I think that his strength really lay in campaigning. I think had he picked a particularly strong team around him and enabled himself to do more of the campaigning while others did more of the governing, I think he might still be in place.
His rise had been on the sail of optimism, so his initial approach to the pandemic was the same.
I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody, you'll be pleased to know.
Accused of being slow to lock down, he succumbed to the virus. Meanwhile, his controversial advisor Dominic Cummings broke the rules. Then, his apparent rivalry with the Prime Minister's new bride, Carrie Johnson, led to him being cut loose, instantly becoming his former boss's fiercest critic.
Tens of thousands of people died who didn't need to die.
But Johnson had got Brexit done, albeit with stored-up problems in Northern Ireland.
So he's gone.
His next success was on the vaccine rollout. It was world-beating, far faster.
Yeah, I mean, to the Tories, Brexit is going to be seen as a massive dub. To the Lib Dems and the conservative wing of the Labour Party, his defeat over Corbyn is going to be seen as like a dub. To the Conservatives, his defeat over Corbyn will be seen as a dub. And his vaccine distribution across the board was like, pretty solid. So that's it. Other than that, everything else is dog shit.
Than the EU. He'd won an 80-seat majority, and he'd been quick to support Ukraine against aggression from Russia. And for those reasons, supporters forgave his failings for as long as they could. His initial support for Owen Paterson, who was guilty of lobbying while accepting cash, the donor-funded refurbishment of his flat above number 11, the number 10...
I know Jonathan Pye is a lib.
...parties during lockdown, and the inconsistencies over what the Prime Minister knew.
Nobody said to me, this is an event that is against the rules.
Still, a police investigation finds...
You're forgetting Ukraine is on? Yeah, because, that's just, no matter who's in charge, that's a consistent reality. You know what I mean? That is a military-industrial complex play. Just as it is in the United States and as it is in the UK. What is this? Soon? May 5th. What the
him for breaching his own laws.
He thought he could play it all as he has all his life, ever since he was a schoolboy at Eton. He thought he could do it his own way, and he found out, and many people said from the very beginning that it would go wrong. The question was only when.
When Deputy Chief Whip Chris Pincher stood down after allegations of sexual harassment, it emerged the PM had been warned of previous behaviour. He denied knowing, then when it was clear he did, said he'd forgotten. His Chancellor and Health Secretary...
I'm sorry, this is pretty funny. It's pretty gross, obviously, but seeing people get mad over an appointee being a sexual assaulter is unheard of. When in America it happens once every 10 years, I think. And certainly not in the Conservative Party. Holy in America, it's oh yeah, this guy, bro, we have a dude in Missouri running for an ex-governor who quite literally beat his child. He beat his baby and sexually assaulted and kidnapped a staffer or something and tied her up and said that he would release revenge porn about her if she ever came out against it. And he beat up his wife too. And he has a high chance of winning. He's going to win. That guy's going to win. This is not a joke. Alert. Nothing I just said is a... Bojo also called sexual assault because Pincher by name, Pincher by nature. Classic Boris moment. The president said grab him by the... The guy who we're talking about, yeah, we've already... Well, what is this? Oh, the lies of Boris Johnson from the Scottish Independence 2023. Wait, what the f is this? This has 841 views, brother. What the hell is this? It's incomprehensible. It's incomprehensible to think about. It's incomprehensible to think about like American politics in the same conversation as I mean, here, this is it. This is Eric Greitens is his name. I'm just going to show you once again. So, Eric Greitens was in the news. I covered it on Leftovers a little bit as well as this stream. But he was in the news because he made a campaign ad because he's running for Senate for the Republican Party right now. He used to be the governor, ex-governor of Missouri, had to resign in disgrace because of the revenge porn, sexual assault, kidnapping accusations. Okay? This guy cut out a video saying he's going to kill rhinos with his, like, you know, brigade of ex-Marines or whatever.
Going rhino hunting.
Look at this. Like, he just, like, breaks into a home and says he's going to kill other Republicans. This is rhino hunting season. Okay? But that's not all. That's not the only thing. That's not the only thing, dude. He has, like, multiple sexual assault and abuse allegations against him. He beat his, like, little baby and his wife. Think about that. Rhino means Republican in name only, for those of you who don't know. Like, that's American politics, dude. That's American politics in comparison to, like, Boris Johnson hiring a sexual assaulter.
Had enough and set in chain a crumbling of his support.
I think he will be remembered as a great communicator. The man that absolutely delivered Brexit. But I think it will also remember somebody that fundamentally didn't listen.
The man who could reach the parts others couldn't was plunging to the depths, pulling his party with him. It took a damagingly long time for them and him to let go.
There's a dude in Kansas who got elected even after revenge porn and threatening to murder Democrat politicians in the state. It happens too much here. Bro, yesterday we watched a video of a Republican Arizona candidate who said he's going to murder people in Klan robes, and that's why he needs to have his gun, which is only hilarious because, like, that's the first time a candidate has cut out an ad saying he's going to kill his own party supporters. Like, I know he said Democrats in Klan robes, but, like, let's be real. The in Klan robes now are not Democrats. The in Klan robes now are Republicans. I've never seen something like that before. Tucker actually covered Nancy Pelosi's beach photo on primetime.
America over this last 4th of July week.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, only the best takes. Remember when the Missouri state candidate Todd Aiken lost because of his statement on today? The Republicans would never make that mistake again and vote for him just to defeat a Democrat. Yeah, that was a one-off, brother. There was a that almost became the Roy Moore, an Alabama Supreme Court justice, state Supreme Court justice, who was so credibly accused of pedophilia that he literally was banned from entering the mall in his hometown because that's where he would try to, like, young girls. And the Republican Party straight up, full-blown defended him, and he almost won. The idea that, the idea that, like, a politician would get in trouble for this sort of thing is unheard of, unimaginable, dude. Absolutely unimaginable from the point of view of, like, Americans.
John Sopel, who spent years at the BBC explaining American politics to the UK. Now he's here to explain British politics to all of us. John, good morning to you.
Good morning.
If, in fact, Boris Johnson walks through that front door and announces his resignation, what happens then?
We don't know. We have no idea what Boris Johnson is going to say or what he's going to try and do. I cannot begin to describe how surreal British politics has become in the past 48 hours. It's kind of gone.
If you're judging everywhere based on that, I think your compass might be Lamau. No, I'm just pointing out how insane it is from the perspective of an American political commentator. You know what I mean? Like, because I do still have a predominantly American audience. So when I do cover British news, I have to put things into a frame of reference that they can understand. They're like, what? Like Boris Johnson's final straw that broke the camel's back was because he hired a sexual assaulter? What? What is this? Can you show this to EU chatters? This will help. A resident? As an Alabama whose ex-stepsister husband has a baby with her first cousin can't confirm. I mean, this was all facts. I don't know why they said United States slander when it was United States factually correct information. Thank you for the information about your lands. Bro, this is literally true. Wait. Why are Democrats holding back the very talented Tiara Mack? Shut the up. Shut the front door, dude. No shot. He did it. No shot. Oh my God. Oh, Tucker's popping off today. Anyway, let's continue.
Slightly Monty Python's, a bit of scruffy Downton Abbey, and a bit of Succession thrown in as well, because it has gone mad. We have had a new Treasury Secretary appointed on Tuesday night. On the next morning, he goes on a round of the TV and radio studios to defend Boris Johnson. This morning, he issues a letter saying Boris Johnson has got to go. We get a new education secretary appointed who has resigned within 24 hours. So what Boris does or says next is anyone's guess. And I think that what he will try to do is he will try to hold on until the autumn. He's apparently reappointing ministers as we speak, which seems utterly bizarre. But whether he'll be allowed to remains to be seen. And the desperate thing that the Conservative Party is worried about is embroiling the Queen in a row over the constitutional succession of Prime Minister.
Not the fucking Queen, bruv. Not the queen. She's alive, bruv. She's alive. God save the queen, yeah? God save her. She's alive. Don't activate the queen, yeah, Tories.
There are many Boris Johnson quotes that come to mind at a moment like this. One in particular, his philosophy on resignation. He was asked about it back in 2015, 2016, and he said he...
And this is Jacob Rees-Mogg, Jacob Rees-Mogg, one of my least favorite pieces of in a long list of nonsense, okay? No, not his child's nanny, his own nanny who still attends to his needs. He is 44 years old and a government minister. Actual footage of Theresa May. It's Vogon poetry in motion. Michael Gove looks like this. No, he's real. Wait, is this just British slander? Yanks, if you've been trying to figure out what the going on with the endless stream of government resignations across the pond, this thread explains it, and it's also wild. Realizing I've tweeted this nearing British Twitter hours and most of the Yanks are offline, there's an update. Now I just need the Russ in Cheshire to do a thread on UK Government 101 and the definitions of the words he used, and I'll be all caught up. The government's elected promising to get Brexit done. Minister without portfolio is a politician who attends cabinet but has no official ministry. Chancellor is the chief finance ministry. That's right. The levelling up department is a mythical bit of nonsense about making everybody in the poor north as rich as the poor south, but without redistributing any money. Grant Shapps famously had 3 false identities whilst working in government and used them to sell get-rich-quick schemes. Nadine Dorries is the owner of a quite lavishly scattered set of wits who constantly appears drunk and ready to bite hostile interviewers and is one of Johnson's most ridiculously loyal backers. I think you have whips in the USA too, people who manage government business. Michael Gove looks like this. Actual footage of Theresa May. It's Vogon poetry in motion. Men in grey suits, a traditional UK political metaphor for the moment when senior people tell the Prime Minister it's time to quit. A red wall MP is a Tory who won a traditional Labour area. In the UK, red is Labour and blue is Tory as opposed to Republican and Democrat. And this is Jacob Rees-Mogg with his nanny. No, not his child's nanny. His own nanny, who still attends his needs. He is 44 years old and a government minister. Man, UK English is going to be wild in 100 years. Yeah. Turbo inbred. Yeah, that's what happens when you have a island, okay? And you colonize the entire planet and then still are like, no, we must protect the integrity of the British line, the British royal bloodline, by making sure that we are systematically inbreeding. Every now and then, we'll allow a Frenchman or a German, dare I say, enter the blood pool, but ultimately it's going to be a lot of sister and cousin for us, so that we all look like this. Look at UK trying to be American Lamau. Young liberals in the UK bet y'all are wishing Joe Swinson had been the UK's next prime minister right about now, huh? British people may not say y'all. Yeah, that's our word. What the Yo, get your own, dumb. What do you mean? Inbreeding, the Yanks are the best at that. No, I think we got it from the British, if we're being real. Come on, bro. You can't be out here acting like the Tories literally do not all look like ghouls, okay? Especially the Tories. Are you joking? Anyone who's a lord in the United States of America, anyone who's a lord in the UK is straight up has like traceable genetic disabilities that come exclusively from their own line of inbreeding. You have genetic traits that we can point to that come from different royal lineages. Like, how the f are you gonna be like, oh no, it's like the Habsburg jaw? If anyone wants entertainment for an hour, someone extensively wrote about all the Tory drama and receipts on the parties. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Tough but fair. This would activate the Queen. Lachelle principles will direct her to decline this request for a dissolution. She then is left with the choice to dismiss him or not. Activate the Queen. Fairy tale country, grow up. I mean, your country is told what laws are by an unelected council of wizards that try to guess what the ghost of Thomas Jefferson really meant. That's up. That's up. Why you got to say that? Why can't we just have a little bit of fun making fun of your country? Why do you have to come in like that? You just bum me out, dude. That's rude. Okay, that's rude. Oh, what's next? You're gonna be like, oh yeah, at least we have the HS, bruv. Oh, at least our skills are not in gallery, right? That's right, right? Oh yeah, we got this, bruv. National Healthcare Service. Simple as. The only thing the ghost of Thomas Jefferson meant was to run the top of the hour outbreak. At the top of the fucking hour, bruv. Diabolical. At the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break. You no longer want to see those ads. All you need to do is subscribe. You can do that for $5, or you can do that for 5 quid, 6 quid, or you can do that for free, bruv. For $3.99, as long as you got an Amazon Prime account connected to your Twitch account, yeah. Or if you get gifted a sub, that's another way. 4 quid, my bad. Sorry, 4 quid. Tamana, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Here's the Kimmy Aid, Kimmy_Ed. Thank you for the 5 gifted community gift subs. Here is the 1-minute ad break now. Secret Service director just left his post to take a job at Snapchat. What? Doesn't this make you excited to visit? Oh, dude, I'm already super excited to visit. I'm going to try to link up with the Novara Media boys when I'm out there. I'm looking for any YouTube content creators out there that I know or that know of me that want to link up and build. Let me know. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here.
Watashi nonamai wa Boris Johnson. Konnichiwa. Watashi nonamai wa Boris Johnson. London Shishu des.
Nico is not going to be in the UK while I'm there, unfortunately. What are you doing in London? Your mom. And your dad. Your man and your dad. You guys are talking a British accent to all snipers? Yeah, of course. Sidemen, I can't link up with because they're not going to be there. Nico, I can't kick it with because he's not going to be there. Literally, all of them. That's Irish, my guy. I know. Shut up. I'm gonna do IRLs and PC stuff. I have my laptop that I'm bringing, my Alienware remote desktop. So I will be there. Did you put out a tweet so UK folks know? Dude, I've been tweeting nonstop. I've been tweeting. Maybe Nico lied to you. Maybe Nico lied to you because he still can't pronounce his name right. Yeah, you're right. Maybe. Oh, here. Let's do a little bit of a hog watch here. No, not the Fab Top. The other Fab Top.
Those who voted for the Conservatives back then, Dave, as the landlord of the Sportsman, very kindly welcomed us in this evening. You were a Boris fan then, you're still a Boris fan now. What was your reaction to what happened today?
I just think it's disgraceful that the man that we voted in, the Conservatives voted in, and the North of England voted in, the Red Wall voted in, lots of first-time voters, lots of people who normally voted Labour, and now it's been taken away from us, whether rightly or wrongly, but the general public haven't had the chance to have their say and say how they feel. We knew what we were getting when we voted for Boris. We knew he makes silly mistakes and says things that he doesn't mean and has his jokes. We knew that when we elected him. And he's been taken away from us by a relentless media campaign. That,
but even your local MP, the Conservative MP, resigned in the last 24 hours because he'd had enough of it.
Yes, he did. But it's like I said earlier, when the MPs start to switch, they all seem to jump on the same ship. They all leave as one. And
bro, I've never seen a more Brexit means Brexit love guy than this dude. The British xenophobia just jumped out. You know what I mean? I don't give a what he says. You know his was like, yeah, we don't want no Poles in this country. We don't want them. Too many Poles. Not good. Not good at all. They're taking our building jobs.
My opinion is that they should have stood by him. They should have stood by Boris because he's the man who got them elected. Lots of these Conservative MPs with very slight majorities probably won't get voted in again. And I think it's an own goal. I think
they said they couldn't trust him. I mean, can you say that you still trust him as a person?
It's what we voted for. We knew what we were getting. We knew what we were getting, and the big decisions. He's got every big decision right. We were the first out of lockdown. We were the first with the vaccines. It was great through COVID. It's been great with the Ukraine situation. The big decisions he's got right. Okay, he's made a few slip-ups with his comments. His joke. It's his joking nature. We all knew he was like that. That's why we voted for him. That's why the average man in the street voted for him.
Well, you mentioned COVID, and Mark's next to you, and like the Prime Minister, ended up in intensive care with
yes,
COVID.
I was.
You voted for him. What's your feeling today?
I think that it's a great shame, the manner in which things have taken place. I think that a person who can have such foresight as he had to be...
Not every working class northerner is a bigot. A working class northerner that voted for a Tory is, though. Why the f would a working class northerner vote for a Tory, you dumbass? I wonder what kind of policies could a Tory have that a working class northerner would be on board with? Especially if they voted Labour their entire lives. I wonder what it is. Come on, dude. He's a pub landlord.
Be basically stabbed in the back. I think it's a disgrace.
Yeah, working class owns a pub.
With the parties and with what's happened recently with an MP accused of serious sexual assault, and he didn't take action on that. Could you still trust him after all of those?
You turn around and say serious sexual...
Let's not look at a voting map of the UK. The 2019 was a sacrificial vote to just get Brexit done because people were sick and tired of all the... No. First of all, Brexit was placed upon a faulty, completely fabricated... it was built upon fabricated lies in general, okay? The idea that the European Union was like taking away British sovereignty and British autonomy. Britland already had like a very Britland already had a pretty solid deal with the EU regardless. They had special privileges regardless. So all of those people that believed that, you know, the English sovereignty was coming back to England, they were wrong. A lot of those people were also motivated by Polish people coming into the country. So I don't give a that you're saying, oh, it's a vote for Brexit. It's a vote for Brexit. Okay, well, what was Brexit built around? Brexit was built around Polish people coming in and taking the jobs of working class Englishmen, which was anyway. White Brits can't be racist mindset. Yeah, literally. I'm telling you, man, British people literally do not believe in racism. It's crazy. Yeah, what is going on?
Sexual assault, and yet nothing was done about it. I would turn around and say that until it's actually proved, those kind of things are not the things that really should be being talked about at this particular time.
And Anne's also with us on the other side of the table. Hi, Anne. What was it? I mean, so much talk about the Red Wall and the Conservatives winning in places like this. What was it about Boris Johnson? What is it about Boris Johnson that still persuades people like that?
He's young. He's got foresight. He actually stood for what we believed in. And he went at it with force. He was a good man and still is a good man. Yes, he's made mistakes. We all make mistakes, huge mistakes even. All this about Partygate and all the rest of it is just nonsense. It was all hyped up just to start getting him out.
Well said.
And it's wrong. Very wrong.
And thanks to all of you. That's the view here. As Boris Johnson said, it should have been for those.
Gammons, bruv. Gammons, the lot of them. Gammons. Sick and tired of all the same excuses used here in Brazil to elect our dumbass president. Yeah. It's gammon watch.
Voters to make the decision, but as we know from today, it wasn't, much to the disappointment.
Sorry, I wasn't saying he's not a bigot. I just thought from what you said he was basing it off of his accent. No. What is this? The video explains what you mean by Stephen Fry.
Can you see what's wrong with this scene? The trick is called forced perspective. It was used to shrink the hobbits in The Lord of the Rings. Deceptive framing has also created false assumptions about the EU, some very dark and some comical. This is the story of how a mythical EU dragon was conjured up and the striking truth behind it all. Headlines like these have been a reliable way for British newspapers to win attention. In 2015, the UN Human Rights Chief urged the UK to tackle tabloid hate speech after migrants were called cockroaches. The article in The Sun began, "Show me pictures of coffins, show me bodies floating in water, play..."
Like, Katie Hopkins is just like straight up white supremacist, which is pretty funny because while Katie Hopkins is white, there is straight up nothing supreme about her. One of the funniest things is when you have like the ugliest of humans be like, yes, the whites. The whites. Katie Hopkins is a complete psychopath. Complete psychopath. Famous for writing things like this. Rescue boats. I'd use gunships to stop migrants. No, I don't care. Show me pictures of coffins. Show me bodies floating in the water. Play violence and show me skinny people looking sad. I still don't care. This is how it feels to be a white conservative woman. I actually love this metaphor because it's a fake target and you put it there yourself. Exactly. Anyway, remember when she got owned by those South African dudes? That was pretty funny. I'm snitching. She's a 10 but watches Hasan streams. Yeah, she's an 11 then. She accepted a fake award that called her a... That was pretty funny. As a Brit, I'm ashamed to say I was tricked into voting leave, and now we're all the ones being by the consequences. Yes. They use my ineligible Pell Grant tuition to kill Russians so I can't refund my as college money. What? My lord. Please tell me you've seen this batshit insane ad. Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. Anyway, so what is this? Breaking. My sources have confirmed that Juan Guaido. Okay, dude, come on. Let's be serious.
Play violins and show me skinny people looking sad. I still don't care.
You referred to a plague of feral humans. I mean, are they all feral? I mean, is it actually a plague?
This is the most, like, by the way, this is centrism in British media, okay? Same as centrism in American media. You said every migrant coming in from Libya deserves to be shot by a weapon. I mean, does every migrant really need to be shot? Maybe 30%, of course, but perhaps not 40%.
Because you look at them and think, you are nothing like me. You don't understand how our culture works. And these individuals from some of these cultures they come from are feral humans.
The UN described a nasty...
He's being sarcastic.
The belly of racism.
Ian Hislop is cool. Okay, my bad. He's the narrator guy from the Stanley Parable.
And noted that Nazi media also referred to people as cockroaches and rats. Brexiteers sailed in on fears built up over decades.
And it was all built on lies, too. Built on the foundation of lies. roving rapist Muslim gangs. That they were all like that the government was hiding the truth about like Muslim immigration, and that they were doing a lot of crime or whatever, or they were, and for some weird reason they just like, nobody considered this to be a real problem. They use the word hordes, they use the word cockroaches.
This campaign poster captures the deception. The migrants aren't heading to Britain and have no way to reach it. The lone white face has been covered by the campaign slogan. When challenged, Nigel Farage felt no pressure to apologise.
Your poster has been taken by many people as deeply offensive, upsetting, racist, anti-Muslim. Would you like to apologise to them tonight?
Well, I issued a very similar poster to that 2 months before with very little debate. The problem with the poster wasn't the image. After all, it appeared on all of our front page newspapers.
A leaflet played on the same fears with more subtle deception. It claims these countries are set to join the EU.
I wonder why they were very upset about these countries set to join the EU.
In reality, they have applied, but Turkey applied over 30 years ago and couldn't be further from joining. Syria and Iraq have not applied. They are shown for the fear factor. A second leaflet is less subtle. Turkey and Iraq are almost the same colour. The arrow, part of the visual language of invasion, includes all the colours of the region. Let's move the camera for a clearer view. This is what the NHS spends by age group. Add education and pensions, and we have half of all government spending. These are the demographics of immigrants.
For the record, Turkey will never join the European Union, and the reason Turkey will never join the European Union is because of that. 90 million Muslims is not 76. Turkey's population is like near 90 million. That's not happening. European Union would never allow 90 million Muslims, especially a much younger population too, to join the European Union. That would just never happen.
Immigrants. They are exactly what Britain needs to support its aging population. There is overwhelming consensus among economists that immigration is good for Britain's economy. Studies show they boost public finances because they pay more in indirect taxes and make much less use of benefits and public services.
What do they know? What do they know of the impact of immigration on school places and hospital waiting lists?
In fact, immigrants pay for more places than they use. European migrants made a positive net contribution of £20 billion to UK public finances between 2000 and 2011. That's enough to pay for an extra 80 million GP visits per year. Immigrants also reduce waiting lists by easing the NHS's recruitment crisis. This year, the NHS has 3,000 fewer EEA nurses, and 4,000 doctors are considering leaving the UK. Here's the second graph. It shows that most Leave voters live in areas with very few immigrants. 9 of the 10 districts with the highest Leave vote had low immigration. Lambeth in London, which recorded the highest Remain vote of 78%, saw a net annual influx of 4,598 immigrants, while Castle Point in Essex saw only 81 new immigrants. But 72% of people there voted Leave. At first, this might seem surprising, but it's a well-established trend that when we meet immigrants, we lose our fear of them. The illusion is broken.
Marxist Paul critique of the EU from a leftist perspective. Yes, the European Union is a neoliberal organization, but the reason why I'm on board with like a Yanis Varoufakis style approach, progressive international style approach to the EU, is because I understand the need for coalition. Okay, a need for like a legitimate coalition, even if the institution itself is personally an arm of the neoliberal capitalist establishment. It is. It's true. I get it.
UK media is the least trusted in Europe by some margin. Perhaps even more readers need to recognise the deception before things improve. The Leave campaign also drove fear of losing democratic control.
We cannot hope to govern an independent nation. We cannot hope to have an independent democracy in this country as long as we are members of the EU.
Since 1999, the UK has voted in favour of EU laws 95% of the time and against only 2%. In search of an example of losing control to the EU, Boris suggested that the EU banned odd-shaped bananas, a myth debunked over 20 years ago.
It's always the dumbest, like the dumbest condoms, bananas, like, we're losing our sovereignty, Boris. We're losing our passports. We're losing our sovereignty, Boris. Do something. Do something.
You cannot sell bananas with abnormal curvature of the fingers.
Other comical myths hardly need debunking. In his
EU wants to merge UK with France.
His resignation letter, Boris pointed to a more serious example. He said, "If a country cannot pass a law to save the lives of female cyclists, when that proposal is supported at every level of UK government, then I don't see how that country can truly be called independent." The laws he refers to were in fact put forward by the EU and passed, despite some resistance among the UK government. Other EU achievements include taking sewage off bathing beaches, cheaper phone calls, fighting tax evasion by global companies, banning spam emails, and major breakthroughs in science and medicine through collaborative projects. But for Boris, the EU was like an alien force taking over Britain.
Let's fight against the great complacent, glutinous armies of the establishment. We can win. We can win on June the 23rd. Campaign between now and June the 23rd. Take back control of our country. Vote Leave, and let's make sure that June the 24th is Independence Day.
The framing of Boris and his colleague Jacob Rees-Mogg as fighting the establishment was also very forced. Jacob's father was the editor of The Times. In his own words, he was effectively born into the establishment. He is for fox hunting, against abortion under any circumstances, and personally delivered a Daily Express petition against foreign aid.
Dude, the best. I mean, straight up. The absolute best.
But the message resonated with people who had suffered years of income stagnation while the rich had grown richer. The Leave campaign blamed this on immigration, but studies show immigration does not deflate wages, and the real causes are well established. The 2008 financial crisis and government policies criticised by the UN as failing to promote social mobility. People without degrees, perhaps feeling trapped at the wrong end of income inequality, were far more likely to vote Leave. Central London is the EU's richest region, and yet 30% of UK children live in poverty. 100,000 more have fallen below the poverty line in 12 months. Boris and co seem unlikely candidates to deviate from this path. Projecting a fight against the establishment allowed the Leave campaign to brush research, data, and expert advice under the carpet.
What economics body is there that they should believe?
All the ones that are part of the sort of institutional infrastructure of big government, be suspicious of.
I think the people in this country have had enough of experts with organisations from acronyms
The people of this country have had enough of experts.
from organisations with.
In a poll of top
brilliant, absolutely brilliant, bruv.
economists, 80% agreed that people in the UK would be poorer as a result of Brexit. Only 2% disagreed. Here's why there's such a consensus.
Putting up trade barriers is bad for your economy. The withdrawal from the EU is a form of putting up trade barriers. Full stop. You are ruining your...
I think the funniest part about Brexit was that, like, as I mentioned already, all of the reasons why the Conservatives wanted to leave the EU were completely unfounded, with the exception of immigration, okay, which did genuinely screw over it did genuinely screw over a lot of the people who ironically were like business owners and whatnot with like tariffs but like with respect to like they're losing their sovereignty or whatever, their deal was already a very specific one with so much, with so many carve-outs for the English, for Britland in general. So all it did was truly make it harder for them to then individually go back and make similar trade agreements. Which is hilarious. I take economics and I can confirm it's literally not real. I live in kind of a poor area of the UK, yet my economics teachers still push Tory ideas. Of course, econ professors do that. Like, the anti-capitalist reason for wanting to leave the European Union is one that revolves around wanting to maintain your own labor conditions and wanting to have autonomy over like what kind of labor protections you can offer if push comes to shove and the European Union tries to stop that from happening. Yet ultimately the Tories are not going to do that anyway. Because to a conservative, the only way to improve labor conditions is by not offering more rights to the workers, as you are seeing currently with the railway strike, but instead by limiting immigration. And that's not how you improve labor conditions. You don't improve labor conditions by cutting off immigration if the capital owning class is already dominating the way that labor conditions are seen in the country, the way that labor is treated in the country.
Competitiveness specifically with your largest trading partner. It is a fact of life. It's one of the few things in economics we can talk about as a fact of life. The gravity applies.
The UK trades more with Ireland than with China. Yet Jacob Rees-Mogg says a no-deal Brexit would boost the economy by £1.1 trillion. Trump has, of course, employed a similar trick, branding the whole mainstream media as fake and projecting his own alternative facts. Perhaps the Leave campaign's greatest...
Dude, my favorite, yeah, see? I've heard this so many times. Train drivers already get paid $60K a year to sit in a chair and press buttons. Yeah, bro. You want to know why? Because they have strong unions, you absolute idiot, and because they demonstrate their power and their importance to the center of to centers of power, capital owners, regularly. And the railway union isn't the train drivers currently that are on strike, but it doesn't matter. They have gone on strike before, as I've talked about this before, and I've heard this exact line, this line of attack against them.
Trick, after dishonestly sowing and stoking so much groundless fear themselves, was to steal from that cheap Trump playbook and accuse Remainers of being guilty of their crimes. Just as Trump, the master creator of false facts, shouts fake news at whatever goes against his agenda, so the Brexiteers, the arch-instigators of electoral fear themselves, routinely labelled all the warnings from experts Project Fear. Expert warnings which have come starkly true throughout this shambles of a negotiation period.
Project Fear.
Project Fear.
Project Fear.
The truth is beginning to outshine the mythical dragon of the EU. Polls show that most people would now rather remain in Europe, and there is increasing support for a vote on the final deal, something Jacob Rees-Mogg once supported.
And you could have 2 referendums, and as it happens, it may be more sense to have the second referendum after the renegotiation is completed.
Should the will of the people change when they have clearly put their deal before them, would he respect that will of the people?
If in 30 years' time the UK wants to rejoin, that would be a matter for the electorate then. But this result must be respected and it must be implemented.
Perhaps in a final...
Yeah, no, my favorite one is the Brexit eel. Here, this is a great...
For 50 years, Peter has exported glass eels from his base in Gloucester.
This is so good. It's so good.
All his customers are in the EU, from Germany to Holland, Sweden to Greece.
This idiot. Remember this idiot?
Until the transition period ends, he can feel his business slipping away.
We will produce the documentation, but unfortunately, our customers have also got a raft of documentation to produce to allow the import to go ahead. So why buy from the UK?
Not my jelly eels, bruv.
Buy from another producer in
I'll
France.
make cultural
We can deliver
export.
to the door, no documentation, no problems.
You voted for Brexit. How are you feeling about that now?
I think, be careful what you wish for. That's, yes, I thought we were going to get a global market. This was going to be a new opportunity, but it hasn't turned out like this. I would have never voted for Brexit if I knew we were going to lose our job.
Peter's business turns over around £2 million a year and employs around 10 staff.
3 times.
I thought that we would get the Poles eating our jellied eels. I didn't realise that this meant tariffs for no reason, bruv. I didn't realise.
Times a week, this company transports these baby
More
eels to countries
paperwork.
right across the EU. The fear for Peter and his staff is that if there's any extra paperwork for his customers because of this Brexit deal, it could make transporting these eels uncompetitive.
I mean, yeah, that's how stupid are you that your main job is exports and you literally voted for leaving the EU. Like, that's just your... It's like if you're an expat living in like Italy or something, you're like, yeah, Brexit means Brexit, bruv. It's like, yeah, you're now. Good job.
Final vote, facts, would start to overcome fears. Wouldn't that be a win for informed democracy?
Unacceptable. Unacceptable. Expat is just a word for white immigrants? Yeah, I know. That's why I used it. What the f are you talking about? All right, let's get back to it then.
Prefer
Let's
to
continue.
sellotape everything together and kind of shamble through. So we'll see if that is in fact going to happen. Dana, I hand it over to you.
Well, I think that the next question, even though we may not know when it seems to be the fate, is that resignation. So who might be prime minister next?
You're going to wish you hadn't invited me on the television this morning because I'm going to say, I don't know. There are so many candidates. I mean, there are so many cabinet ministers who are looking at themselves in the mirror and saying, I could be prime minister. They all think they've got a shout. So I think Nadhim Zahawi, who is the Treasury Secretary, Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's been appointed, he'll fancy himself. The Foreign Secretary, Liz Truss, she's cutting short a trip to Indonesia at the G20 to come back early. I can go on with a list of runners and riders, but there is no standout charismatic figure in the way that Boris Johnson was charismatic. David Cameron, the former Prime Minister, described Boris Johnson as slippery to get hold of as a greased piglet. Today, he's been turned into sausage meat.
John, in one word, what is Boris Johnson's legacy?
Brexit, chaos, and a bit of untrustworthiness.
Just a bit, just a tad bit, like a pinch of salt on a tea, in a cup of tea. Interesting article on Brexit resulted in protections for rentals relaxing and a 40% increase in evictions and rent prices in London. Can that be legal? UK tenants forced from their homes by soaring rents. Private renters already struggling with food and fuel prices are being hit hard as landlords raise prices in London and nationwide. Margaret Perry wants to buy a house one day, but the increases in her energy, water and council tax bills over the past weeks have dented her ability to save. Then, on Easter Monday, her landlord called. Dude, those are turf bangs, by the way. Those are turf bangs. The national haircut. Did you see Gavin Newsom announce that California will make its own cheaper insulin? Yeah, I heard about this. Good video on Bojo having a bad week. Came out 30 minutes before he resigned.
Conservative MPs have stood by the Prime Minister through scandal after scandal after scandal. The latest one, surrounding Chris Pincher, seems to be the final straw. That's because on Tuesday evening, a slew of resignations saw Johnson losing his Chancellor and Health Secretary within just a matter of moments. So let's take a look at what's happened, how the scandal unfolded, who's resigned, and what happens next. If you want more updates on this story, then be sure to subscribe to the channel and help us get ever closer to 600,000 subscribers. Anyway, let's start with the proximate cause of all of this chaos, the Chris Pincher scandal. And this scandal goes all the way back to 2017, when then Deputy Chief Whip Chris Pincher became caught up in the Pestminster scandal, with fellow Tory politician Alex Storey even going as far as branding him a pound shop Harvey Weinstein. When the news broke about this, Pincher lost his job and referred himself to the police and the party's complaints procedure. But Pincher wasn't gone long, because in 2019, the new Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, decided to appoint him as Minister for Europe and the Americas. And since then, Pincher has slowly but
Damn, bro, that would never happen in America. Oh, wait, except for all the times it has happened and will continue to happen.
surely been climbing back to his old post. But things really started going downhill for Pincher Thursday last week, when Pincher allegedly got drunk and groped two men. Pincher even admitted that he drank far too much and, quote, embarrassed myself and others, before he promptly resigned as Deputy Chief Whip. Now, originally, the government said that they
properly named, bruv,
wouldn't be kicking Pincher out of the party because of this scandal, which certainly raised some eyebrows, not just because, well, having an alleged sex pest on your roster isn't exactly a good look, and because similar MPs have been kicked out for similar things. So, perhaps unsurprisingly, after just 24 hours of pressure, the government U-turned and removed the whip from Pincher. Now, given Pincher's history, people began to ask what Johnson was thinking when he reappointed him in 2019. Initially, Number 10 said that Johnson just wasn't aware of any specific allegations against Pincher.
I don't believe he was aware. That's what I've been told today. You were asking more about more general rumours, and I've no idea what conversations have been had. I am aware that the Prime Minister was not aware of specific claims.
I spoke with Number 10 both yesterday and today, and I asked them firmly and clearly for an answer on this, and I've been given categorical assurance that the Prime Minister was not aware of any serious specific allegation.
I don't think the Prime Minister is aware of any substantiated complaints to the extent that they would.
Isn't it wonderful to see? Isn't it wonderful to see that, like, your media and our media is nearly identical in, like, lapping up absolute it's great.
Would trigger a formal mechanism.
The problem is that this argument just isn't all that plausible, given that the allegations about Pincher are not only public knowledge, but also widely publicised just a few years ago. And to make matters worse, on Saturday, Dominic Cummings even claimed that Johnson himself used to refer to him as Pincher by name, Pincher by nature, suggesting that Johnson was all too aware of the allegations. Then, on Sunday, 6 new claims of inappropriate behavior by Pincher emerged.
Pincher by name, Pincher by nature.
Plausible that Johnson didn't know. So on Monday, Number 10 decided to change their line, instead claiming that Johnson hadn't been made aware of any serious, specific allegations that had led to a formal mechanism. Unfortunately for Number 10, though, this line only lasted a day, when Lord MacDonald claimed that the Prime Minister was briefed in person about the investigation and outcome of the investigation into Chris Pincher, saying that the Number 10 line over the weekend was simply not true. In response to this revelation, Michael Ellis defended the Prime Minister by basically arguing that he forgot he was told about Mr. Pincher.
Last week, when fresh allegations arose, the Prime Minister did not immediately recall the conversation in late 2019 about this incident. As soon as he was reminded, the
He forgot, dude. You don't understand. It happens regularly in my line of work, okay? In my line of work, I'm too busy. Sometimes I forget.
Number 10 press office corrected their public lines.
Later in the day, Johnson himself got on the airwaves to apologize.
Your Honour,
for
I
ever
simply
appointing
forgot.
Pincher.
Yes, I think it was a mistake, and I apologise for it. I think in hindsight it was the wrong thing to do. I apologise to everybody who's been badly affected by it, and I just want to make absolutely clear that there's no place in this government for anybody who is predatory or who abuses their position of power.
Now, this mess of communication over the last few days has caused some serious friction, especially among government ministers. And that's because the government's bound by collective cabinet responsibility, meaning that ministers are expected to defend the Prime Minister as long as they have a job within their government. It seems, though, that arguing that Johnson forgot he knowingly appointed an alleged sex pest into government was a bridge too far for many members of his cabinet. The first to fall was...
I can't help but feel like this, unironically, is like such a funny reason. Like, there's nothing funny about like defending sex pests or sexual assaulters or anything, obviously. But like thinking about it from the perspective of like an American, it is such a like... It is completely outside of the scope of reason that like someone would actually see any sort of accountability for something like this, considering that like this is quite literally just how Republicans operate in our country all the time.
Was Health Secretary Sajid Javid, followed promptly by Chancellor Rishi Sunak. Both of them made it clear in their letters that the Pincher scandal was the straw that broke the camel's back, and both accused Johnson of lacking competence. These two might have been the beginning, but they started a whole wave of resignations, from more senior politicians to those lower in the hierarchy, with resignations continuing far into the following day. And it was these resignations that set the stage for what ended up being an incredibly feisty Prime Minister's questions yesterday, a session which was immediately followed by the resignation speech of Health Secretary Sajid Javid. Now, Starmer's focus in PMQs was not so much on the resignation themselves, but the thing that caused them, the Chris Pincher scandal.
Prosecuting rapists, I heard that from victims all the time. Victims said they froze because it's not about sex. It's about power. And the power the disgraced government minister had was handed to him by that Prime Minister. And he's only in power because he's been propped up for months by a corrupted party defending the indefensible.
Mr. Speaker, the difference between this government and that opposition is we have a plan and they do not. We're getting on with it. They want to focus on this type of issue, Mr. Speaker. We're going to get on with our jobs.
As I said a moment ago, PMQs was followed up by Javid's resignation speech. A speech that was actually quite telling about the mood of some in cabinet.
I also believe a team is as good as its team captain.
and that a captain is as good as his or her team. It's not fair on ministerial colleagues to go out every morning defending lines that don't stand.
I can't get over it, dude. I've never seen, like, think about how Liz Cheney was treated within the Republican Party, and she's and sucks and like deserves worse, right? So don't misunderstand me. I'm not like running defense for her or anything. But think about how Liz Cheney was treated by the Republican Party, and everyone else that like dared to say anything about Donald Trump was treated by the Republican Party, right? And then think about the way that these guys are behaving. Like, they're actually criticizing Boris Johnson. Like, I know they're using this as an excuse. But I cannot, and I'm not by any means like saying, oh my God, they're so much better. You know, the British are better. I would never say some dumb shit like that. Of course they're not. But it is pretty funny to consider that, like, the party came in line and decided to use any opportunity they could to take down their leadership and basically pin the blame on him. Even though, of course, like, this isn't going to change the reality. This isn't going to change the reality of inflation. It's not going to change anything.
Stand up and don't.
I wish the Republican Party would do some infighting like this. I really do. It'd be sick.
And it's not fair on Conservative members and voters who rightly expect better standards from the party they supported.
So, with Javid gone and pressure increasing, what could happen next? Well, Johnson's now overseen 36 resignations in 24 hours, which is the highest number of any prime minister
It's a speed run, too.
1932.
Yeah, Ukrainians are apparently very upset because, like, Bojo's, Bojo's like, oh, we're going to Ukraine because I care, I truly care. I'm not trying to actually do everything I can to shift the attention away from me domestically in all the political scandals that I'm in. But, that kind of posturing worked. They bought his... Doesn't matter because Ukrainians are not voting in the UK, so it doesn't matter.
Johnson is now immense. And the drip feed of resignations over the last couple of days certainly hasn't helped him. One thing that absolutely didn't help him, though, was when his good pal Michael Gove went to him yesterday afternoon to tell him that the gig was up and that he really ought to resign. But will he heed Gove's advice? What happens now? Well, there was a huge amount of speculation yesterday that the 1922 committee, the committee which represents Conservative backbenchers, was going to change their own rules to give themselves the opportunity to kick out Boris.
Why are you defending a Conservative? I assume it's very different in the UK or US. What, you think I'm defending Boris Johnson? I'm being sarcastic. F that guy. I hate him. Did you not hear, like, the hours and hours and hours of my coverage where I call every single Tory a nonce? Like, what the
Boris Johnson. Basically, as things currently stand, Johnson can't face another vote of no confidence until next year. And that's because current rules state that the Prime Minister has a year of immunity after a vote of no confidence, with Johnson facing and winning a vote of no confidence only a few weeks ago. But the rules that stipulate this immunity are flexible, and the executive of the 1922 committee have the power to amend the rules, but only do so if it's the will of the party. And that's doubly interesting, because there are elections to choose a new executive of the 1922 committee coming next Monday. And depending on who wins, there's a high likelihood that a rule change could take place under this new executive. It's unclear at the moment what new rules the executive might choose to introduce, although it's expected that a new, higher threshold will be announced, which will need to be surpassed in order for Johnson to face a second no-confidence vote, even within this immunity period. Now, as I said, this change can't possibly happen before Monday, but let's quickly run through what could happen before then. Firstly, last night, Johnson faced a rebel group of cabinet members who urged him to resign. Johnson could succumb to this pressure and announce his resignation on his own. But if he doesn't do this, and he survives until Monday, then the 1922 committee could amend their rules, as we've just outlined. And once that new threshold is met, Johnson will be subject to another no-confidence vote.
Well, didn't happen. Didn't have to happen because they thought the reason why the coverage looked like this a couple hours ago was because, which is when this video was released. The reason why
he'll have to resign, but if he wins, he'd stay on as Prime Minister. And while the pressure on him to resign would be immense, there'd be basically no routes left for the rebels who want him gone. However, it's worth saying that if he does...
Which is pretty funny because, like, he's not even technically resigning yet. Like, he's like, I'm resigning, but also I will stay in power for an unspecified amount of time.
Does actually win the vote, it's likely that he survived in part because the pressure on him to go had subsided over the weekend, and he was able to somehow shore up his position. In this case, then, it's likely that he'd be able to continue on as Prime Minister, albeit a very bruised one. However, if through one of the aforementioned routes Johnson is forced out of office, a leadership election would occur within the Conservative Party. Now, we won't get into the minutiae of this election right now, but the overview is that it will begin with Tory MPs putting their name...
Wait, the Daily Mail is still... like defending him inside the Boris bunker, touching photos, real moment Boris Johnson hugged his wife and children in number 10 lobby after delivering his resignation speech. What the f? Dan Wooten, the Tory party will come to regret knifing Boris. Oh my god! They're going crazy, dude. Plotting to replace Boris gets underway. Rishi sets up a campaign headquarters in Westminster Hotel. Janet Street Porter, I was looking forward to a Boris-free summer, but now we must endure self-obsessed Tory leadership candidates flaunting their assets like Love Island contestants. One last party for Kerry. Boris wants to cling to power long enough to host belated wedding bash at Checkers as Mrs. Robinson is seen outside number 10, proudly showing baby Rami's face for the first time. Game, set and match. Jubilant Keir Starmer beams in Wimbledon Royal Box as he plots bid to smash Boris out of number 10 if Tory MPs don't do it with a no-confidence vote. First of all, Keir Starmer could have never done this on his own, okay? He's literally an absolute babbling baboon, okay? Like, there's no way this could have ever happened if left to Keir's devices, okay? There's no shot. He flubbed everything. He flubbed every single part of this process, like on the messaging angle.
Teams forward. Then fellow Tory MPs vote on their favourites, with the ones with the least support being progressively eliminated until just 2 remain. These 2 will then be presented to the wider Conservative membership, who will vote on who they'd like as their leader, with the winning person becoming the new Conservative leader and therefore the new Prime Minister. Anyway, the point here is that there's a lot of pressure on Johnson at the moment, and while there are many different routes for him to be ousted, there aren't that many options if he wants to stay on as Prime Minister, and therefore it looks very likely that he won't be residing in number 10 for much longer. But this is British politics we're talking about, so I suppose anything is possible. So if Johnson's very...
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Anything is possible, which is why the impossible happened, and Boris Johnson, unfortunately, had to resign in disgrace. Now, having said that, we've seen the reaction. We've seen some of the Daily Mail hogwash. Let's hear what the Ukrainians have to say about Boris Johnson and his resignation. Let's take a look.
From the Russian leadership about the political crisis in the UK. Dmitry Peskov, the Kremlin spokesman, saying Boris Johnson does not like us and we don't like him either.
Нам хочется надеяться, что хоть когда-то в Великобритании придут более профессиональные люди, которые смогут понять целесообразность решения имеющихся проблем через диалог. Но пока на это надеяться вряд ли приходится.
Maria Zakharova, the Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, saying that Britain's half-life situation is alarming. And in a piece of place name trolling, she said, though, that the British Embassy was probably better placed to comment, located as they now are on the freshly named Luhansk People's Republic Square. The head of the Federation Council to Russia's upper house of parliament said that she expected that other European leaders may await the same fate. And we haven't heard from Vladimir Putin, but I imagine he will have his say in due course. The UK, alongside the US, pretty much tops the list of the Kremlin's unfriendly nations. And that is because of the amount of weapons that it is sending to Ukraine. And also the...
Pretty much tops the list. Yeah, no, America's number one, bitch. Okay, get the out of here. Oh yeah, the UK. Oh yeah, they hate us. They hate us. Like, man, the UK is literally just the little dog of America at this point. And it's the same masters that they serve, just like we serve the exact same masters in the military-industrial complex. Let's be real for a second. That's the only reason why we're just like funneling guns into the country as aggressively as we have. That's it, though. That's the main point of this entire thing.
The British leadership has never minced its words about Russia's malign activities, and especially not its actions in Ukraine now.
This is plainly in breach of international law.
And the Kremlin is right that whoever succeeds Boris Johnson, that is unlikely to change.
It's a change of politics, not from Ukraine, not from UK, for all world.
There's been a lot of chatter about Boris Johnson here in the last 24 hours.
Big friend, Ukrainian big friend.
It's a second Churchill, but he's a great man.
People have been following the news very closely because Boris Johnson is a deeply popular figure here in Ukraine.
No, I don't know. I like.
I mean, here's the thing, bro. I mean, they got suckered into thinking that like any other British politician would not be doing the exact same. They got suckered into thinking that Boris Johnson was going to Ukraine because out of genuine interest, and not because he wanted to like shift the attention away from his scandals at home, as we adequately covered when he did that trip, if you remember, which was hilarious. And many people don't realize that Boris Johnson also did this because the top of the hour ad break was upon us, where he wanted you to watch an ad. He was like, at the top of the hour, there's a 60-second ad break, and I, Boris Johnson, want you to watch it. Now, however, I, Boris Johnson, also do not want you to know that you can avoid said ads by subscribing, whether it's for $5 or for £4 or for free with a Twitch Prime, that is, by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Prime subscription a month, or by getting gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here is the 1-minute ad break now. And that was what Boris said. Of course, if you recall, another reason why Boris Johnson went to Ukraine was because peace talks were happening in Antalya between the Russian envoy and the Ukrainian one, and they shortly but very quickly fell apart after Boris visited Ukraine. So that was fun. I don't know what kind of assurances he gave the people of Ukraine, but I personally don't think that nuking peace talks was a good thing.
Him.
Not just because of the very early contribution militarily and financially from Britain that he pledged to support Ukraine, but also that surprise visit in early April when he visited the capital Kyiv and he did that iconic walkabout with President Zelensky.
We are sad because of it. We seen him come here in Kyiv and he seems like a really nice person.
Many though are.
You really think it was Boris who nuked peace talks and not Russia? Well, that was the reporting at the time, that Boris Johnson was not, favorable to peace talks, and the peace talks were happening. There was a 15-point plan between Russia and Ukraine. The Ukrainian negotiators seemingly had conceded to some of those points, which looked like a Minsk agreement reinstated, and pushing back. I at the time I praised Zelensky for very adequately, like a good statesman, pushing back the conversation on Crimea 15 years in an effort to immediately reach some kind of peaceful, peace negotiation, but it didn't happen. But here's the thing. Boris doesn't do stuff like that. Russia-Ukraine chatters have somehow become more annoying than pro-Israel chatters, not going to lie. Yes, because it's like the endless amount of coverage, I think, broke their brain, where they have no interest in seeing things from, they have no interest in seeing things in a different light. They're just like, they've made up their minds and everything is just like, Russia is bad. You know what I mean? Like, Russia is bad. Make no mistake. They are still, of course, the primary responsible party for invading Ukraine. Okay? I'm not, like, absolving them of any of that. Russia wanted peace. Yeah, sure, buddy. Your dumbest take ever persists. Oh, my God. Yeah, dude. Just like all of your dumb takes, like Russia was going to overtake Poland. With what army, bitch? Huh? Oh, man. Russia was going to take over Eastern Europe. With what army? How are they taking over any of these places? What happened, dude? They couldn't even take over Ukraine. What happened? Shut the up. None of these dumb bitches ever get none of these dumb bitches have ever gotten pushback because every facet, every outlet just lied over and over again and made it seem like they were this like gigantic superpower. It's just the beginning. Yeah, totally, dude. Yeah. Bro, people were talking about how Russia's going to invade Eastern Germany, okay? Like, you're crazy. Anyway.
Hopeful that whoever succeeds Boris Johnson as Prime Minister will continue to pledge Britain's unwavering.
You will have to make another correction later. Russia is taking territory and will continue to do so. Okay. My original sentiment on Russia being able to successfully take over the entirety of Ukraine still stands. Russia does not have, no country, not even just Russia, but most countries, and this even includes the United States, do not have the manpower, military power, and economic power to maintain a steady occupation over a country that has 44 million people that have all been trained and have a genuine resentment towards this power at their border. It would be incredibly and supremely difficult for America to do so. As you know, America had a really hard time doing it in Afghanistan. Okay? So, Russia doing it, Russia, a country that is significantly less powerful than the United States is with respect to its military, doing it to the entirety of Ukraine is ridiculous. Anyway. It's so weird because, like, when I say this, there's pushback in the chat from all these, like, weirdos, right? There's pushback in the chat from all these weirdos. And then The Guardian writes it as an article 3 months later, and I don't hear any of you chirping about that. Every single thing I've said about Ukraine and the dangers of, like, untraceable weapons being flooded into the Ukrainian marketplace, radicalization occurring, like, and how imminent it is that, like, nationalist groups are going to be seen as, like, emancipatory forces and all this other. Every single thing has popped off. Every single thing has become true, and yet so many of you motherfuckers refuse to recognize any of that. It's so weird. It's a complicated situation, obviously, and the Ukrainians do have a right to emancipation. Ukrainians do have a justifiable interest in wanting to rid the country of Russian occupation that is barbaric, that is bloody, that is violent. Azov got so much political power that they're all dead now. Yeah, no, it's just Azov, dude. Nationalism is not nationalism or Ukrainian nationalism beyond like anti-Russian imperialism is not like a real thing, a real concept outside of Azov. Anyway, imagine saying Putin is a communist. Yeah.
Bring support to Ukraine. I really hope that
It's way more simple than you think. They just hate you and won't agree with you no matter what. I mean, they didn't used to. A lot of those people who disagree with me vehemently on this subject disagree with me because in that time they saw other content creators that were like giving them the comfort of repeating things that they saw in mainstream media. And then that drew like this big, like artificially crafted and deliberately crafted wedge between a lot of you and my commentary, and it was done with nefarious purpose, and it was profoundly successful because a lot of your dumbasses, okay, and you just can't let that go. It's like weirdly, deeply parasocial, especially considering the reality that I admitted the parts of my commentary that were wrong. It is what it is, though.
that like the new minister will also try to help us.
A lot of certain groups of bread tubers are still crying about tankies and how awesome and epic Ukraine is on Twitter.
Because Boris Johnson did.
Certainly one of the things that people loved a lot about Boris Johnson here was that he talked about Ukraine defeating Russia. He never mentioned concessions or compromises as other European leaders have.
Actually, he promised that Great Britain will support Ukraine and will continue to support, so it seems that everything will be all right.
So there is some cautious optimism that whoever succeeds Boris Johnson will continue this legacy in terms of British support. But I can't imagine many other British Prime Ministers will have a croissant named after them in Kyiv.
People literally from their communities around, people literally form their communities around, look at this bad Hasan take. I didn't believe it when you said it, but it's been proven over and over again. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not as much anymore. I think it's like people have kind of stopped doing that. And I think people just like inevitably came back. But that's why every once and again, whenever I talk about Ukraine, people go crazy. But yeah, it's but at the time I said like, man, it seems like people are more mad at me than they're mad at Russia. And months later, they have proven me right. Like, they literally are still being like, dude, remember when you said Russia would not be dumb enough to invade Ukraine? Which I will forget the dumb enough part because, like, I just have a narrative that I am advancing from my parasocial daddy. You know what I mean? I saw some losers saying you ask your community to pay for your microphones and cameras. Wait, what? Yeah, with subscriptions. That's what they mean. I agree with you and your takes, though I have my own personal beliefs. It's true, though. That's really what it was about. Yeah. The invasion was a incredibly dumb move. It is true. And it remains to be the case. People who still disagree are military nerds who see everything in relation to battles, land gain, loss, etc. I'm done with Boris Johnson's like career. We've seen the led by donkeys thing before. I do want to kind of finish the John Oliver bit that we were watching last night, and I do want to watch the UK slander video. But before that, Let's hear from America on Boris.
Frankly,
because Americans, leave it up to Fox Business or any Fox channel, really, to come up with like the dumbest possible take. Let's hear.
and quite frankly, I think that this is conservatives stepping up and trying to reclaim what is conservatism, because Boris Johnson has been anything but. He one of his biggest moves was a 2.5 percentage point increase in the payroll tax to fund the National Health Service. He adopted a Labour Party proposal, that's the Liberal Party in Britain, a windfall profits tax on energy companies. There's a
Yeah, bro, if you're American, yes, technically everything you say about Boris Johnson, you could make the argument is that he's a communist. Because we're in America and we're fascists, okay? That's why. Yes. Do you guys understand? I hope all the Europeans didn't immediately leave just now. And you saw, from an American's perspective, this is what I talk about all the time. Remember, when the elections were happening in the UK, I told you, like, Boris Johnson is literally running a campaign as the Conservative Party on the platform of funding the national healthcare system. Okay? Like, think about that. He is further to the left than the Democratic Party in America. That does not mean that Boris Johnson is woke or anything like that. That just means America is bloodthirsty and psychotic. Okay? We are insane. And not a single person that looks at that goes, wait a minute, are we the weirdos here? No, it must be them. They're all commies, actually. Boris Johnson is a Marxist.
plan to increase corporate taxes. That's not conservative. That is, to paraphrase the Wall Street Journal's editorial board, that's straight out of Bernie Sanders' playbook.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Boris Johnson was fired because he was too similar to Bernie Sanders, dude. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Highland Park suspect. But before we do that, here, this is the last Boris thing that we're going to watch. From Jonathan Pye, who is a bit of a lib, who's not a bit of a lib, but a lot of a lib, and it was greatly disappointing, but...
Okay, so he's resigned, but he hasn't off. Okay. I mean, what do we have to do? Wait for another few months?
This guy's a classic. Hold on, I gotta pee.
I'm loving this. What an exit. The Prime Minister forgot that his whip was a sexual predator. No answer to that one. No answer, no humility, no meaningful apology. For days, just more Dickensian twaddle and a little reshuffle. Not so much reshuffling deck chairs on the Titanic, more reshuffling cat shit on a litter tray. And the manner of his departure should tell you everything you need to know. No dignity, just desperation and delusion and a despotic disposal to cling to power, no matter the harm to our country. A Tory party facing the inevitable truth that they have been complicit in enabling one of the most dangerously incompetent and untrustworthy, selfish individuals ever to have occupied number 10 for as long as they have. And what's beautiful is it was the lying that got him in the end. He leaves in disgrace, as well he should, having exposed himself once and for all for what we always knew him to be. Not a statesman, but a sad little liar. A Shakespearean tragedy written by monkeys on typewriters. A Prime Minister who is as adept at lying at the dispatch box as he is to his string of mistresses. Every marriage Boris has had has ended when he someone else and got them pregnant. That's who he is. Lies on top of lies on top of lies. He lies and gets people to lie on his behalf and then lies about the lying. And when he runs out of lies, he can always rely on the incompetence card. I forgot. I can't remember. I don't understand what the word party means. My willy just ended up inside my secretary. Oh, I forgot that he's a renowned sex pest. Essentially, a man who would rather pretend to be stupid than admit his mistakes, which of course makes him a coward. A desperate, sad, talentless flag shagger who is so blatant in his dishonesty that when accused of lying to Parliament, he simply tries to change the rules to make it okay to lie to Parliament. Who, when his own ethics advisors resign in disgust at his complete lack of ethics, scraps the role of ethics advisor altogether, which proves his complete lack of ethics. But the devastating cries over the last few days from the Tory party of enough is enough and one step too far are coming from the same people who have sat and watched him take a flamethrower to their party and our constitution for 3 years. Up after up, lie after lie. And they were thinking what? Oh, he'll get better in a minute. All of them talking about trust and integrity. If you cared so much about trust and integrity, then why the did you put Boris Johnson in number 10 in the first place?
10 Downing Street, bruv.
Getting rid of him now. Lack of leadership.
My man's positively fuming.
Lack of morals, lack of integrity, lack of truth. All these traits have been in plain sight for years. His CV reads like a demon's resume. These noble cabinet ministers all falling on their swords. These are the that enabled Boris to be there in the first place. And just look at what he's achieved. Trust in politics at a lower ebb than that time President Trump told Americans to drink bleach. A government with a complete absence of ethics, morals, direction or ideas. A ministerial code in the bin. An oven-ready Brexit deal that even Boris admits is unworkable. A COVID response that has been found to be criminally negligent. A United Kingdom inches away from complete devolution. An economy in tatters, a recession on the way, a health service barely fit for purpose, a country on the verge of a national strike, a man who took an 80-seat majority and just spaffed it up the wall in the name of hubris and ambition, destroying his party's reputation and leaving the UK ungovernable. What a legacy. Chaos. He leaves office the most hated man in his party and his country. And even though he's resigned, he's still there. Just off and we'll take our chances with the next useless posh sliver of bollock skin who gets to shag their mistress in the £50,000 floral wallpaper gin palace and factory of lies that number 10 has become under Boris Johnson.
We need this guy here in the US. It's me. I'm this guy in the US, except not a lib.
Okay, well, we're still waiting to get a clearer picture as to the timeline as to the Prime Minister's...
This is fake. So Jonathan Pye popped off during the Trump administration. I don't know if you guys remember that, but he would do...